Darklings, as some bodies carry more than flesh and blood. Some carry secrets, curses, and whispers too heavy for the living to bear. Tonight, I want to tell you about her, the one they called Jane Doe. To the world, she was just another corpse. But when her chest was opened, when the scalpel touched her skin, the dead began to stir. If you are interested in more horror stories in full, not just the short parts you find on TikTok, don't forget to subscribe and like. It began in a small town. Police were called to a crime scene, an ordinary house, but what they found inside was anything but ordinary. Multiple victims lay dead, their bodies marked by brutal violence. Yet in the basement, they discovered something stranger than all the rest. A young woman's body, half buried in the dirt, pale, perfect, untouched by decay, as if she had just lain down to sleep. No wounds. No signs of struggle. Her eyes were open, but her story was sealed in silence. She was taken to a family-run morgue, where a father and son, both coroners, were tasked with finding out who she was and how she died. To them it seemed like a simple job, but when they placed her on the table, nothing felt simple anymore. Can you imagine it? Darklings? A body so flawless, yet so wrong. Beauty preserved beyond reason, waiting to be cut open. Wouldn't you be tempted to listen for her heartbeat, even when you knew it should be silent? The autopsy began the way it always does. The father moved with the calm rhythm of experience, while the son wrote down every note, every measurement. On the surface, her body was flawless. No bruises, no blood, no broken bones. She looked almost peaceful, but the deeper they looked, the stranger it became. Beneath her fingernails, there was soil, fresh, as if she had been clawing at the ground. Her wrists and ankles showed invisible fractures, the kind caused by violent restraint. Yet her skin bore no mark, no sign of trauma. Then came the incision, the scalpel pressed against her chest, gliding down in a perfect line. And that's when the true horror revealed itself. Her lungs were blackened, burned as though she had died in fire. Her tongue was brutally severed, cut deep from her mouth. Inside her stomach, they found the shattered remains of a rare flower, one that only grows during rituals of sacrifice. A perfect body, hiding broken secrets. Outside, she was untouched. Inside, she was ruined. Tell me, Darklings, isn't that the cruelest mask of all? The father and son exchanged looks, confusion shadowing their faces. Nothing made sense. How could her organs be so damaged, while her skin remained flawless? Every answer only opened the door to more questions. And as the storm outside grew louder, the morgue began to feel less like a place of science, and more like a trap. As the storm raged outside, the morgue grew colder. Lights flickered. The old radio in the corner came alive, whispering static before playing a song no one had tuned. The son looked up, uneasy, but the father told him to focus. The body was the answer, he said. They just had to keep cutting. But the body wasn't set silent anymore. Strange things began to happen. Doors creaked open on their own. Gurneys shifted across the floor. In the freezer, other corpses twitched, as though something had stirred them awake. The son swore he heard a whisper, soft and broken, echoing through the hall. A woman's voice, though no lips had moved. And Jane Doe still lay perfectly still, her skin flawless, her face calm, as though mocking them with her silence. Every time they cut deeper, the air grew heavier. Every discovery inside her seemed less like science and more like a curse being revealed. Darklings, have you ever felt watched by someone who should not see you? Imagine cutting into a body, only to realize it is cutting into you. Fear began to seep into the father's eyes. Though he tried to hide it, the son wanted to stop, but he refused. Answers had to be found, and so, they pushed forward further into the body, further into the nightmare. The deeper they searched, the more impossible the truth became. Beneath her perfect skin, they found ritual scars carved on the inside of her body, symbols etched into her organs, markings no blade on the outside had ever made. Her bones showed signs of centuries-old torture, yet she looked as if she had died yesterday. The father's hands trembled as he traced the marks. He whispered the word neither of them wanted to hear, which she wasn't simply dead. She had been punished, mutilated in secret, her pain hidden beneath a flawless mask. And somehow, even after centuries, her body remained alive in silence. That's when the morgue itself seemed to awaken. The lights burst and shattered. The elevator bell rang, though no one had called it. In the corridors, shadows moved, twisting, rushing past the corners of their vision. And in the freezer, the other corpses began to walk. The son panicked. He screamed that they had to end it, that they had to burn the body. But the father shook his head. No. Jane Doe wasn't letting them go. Every step closer to her truth was another step deeper into her trap. She never needed to move. Darklings. That's the real horror. Perfect stillness, while everything else died around her. Power without motion. Don't you envy it? The morgue had become a prison. Every door locked itself. Every corridor led them back to the same room, to her. Jane Doe lay still on the table, untouched by the chaos, yet it was her silence that ruled the air. The father and son fought to keep control. They swung axes at shadows that melted back into the dark. They set fire to walking corpses that refused to stay down. The radio howled with voices, laughter, screams of people long dead. And always in the center of it all was her body, motionless, flawless, mocking. The son begged his father to stop. He said it wasn't an autopsy anymore. It was a ritual. Every cut, every discovery was feeding her, not defeating her. The father refused, desperate to find the cause, desperate to solve the puzzle. But Jane Doe had no intention of giving them answers. She wanted only one thing: for them to suffer as she had. Isn't that beautiful, Darklings? To lie perfectly still while the world tears itself apart for you. To make them bleed, scream, and burn without lifting a finger. That is true power. The storm outside thundered, rattling the building. Inside, the sun collapsed, shaking, whispering that she wasn't dead at all. And deep down, the father knew he was right. Jane Doe wasn't a victim. She was the executioner. The father realized too late that Jane Doe wasn't asking for answers. She was demanding a trade. Every wound carved into her body, every torture she had endured was being shifted onto them. Bones cracking, skin burning, lungs filling with smoke. She wanted them to heal. Desperate to save his son, the father offered himself. He whispered to her, pleaded with her body on the table, "Take me instead." And the morgue grew still. For a moment, it seemed she accepted. The son ran, gasping for breath, as behind him his father screamed, his body breaking under invisible hands, ribs snapping, eyes bleeding. But Jane Doe never moved. She didn't have to. She absorbed his suffering as if it had always belonged to her. The next morning, when the police arrived, they found only one survivor. The son, pale, shaking, eyes wide with madness. He tried to explain what had happened. But who would believe such a story? They thought the storm had broken him. They zipped his father into a bag and wheeled Jane Doe's body away, untouched, still flawless. And maybe, Darklings, that's the cruelest ending of all. She will always be found again, always carried to the next table, always waiting for someone foolish enough to open her, to cut, to look, and to pay the price. Because Jane Doe was never meant to rest. She was meant to punish. And as long as her body lies unclaimed, the autopsy never ends.
An interesting story, but also a reminder, even though this was a tale of complex. In the darkest situations when fear takes everything else away, people still reach for what matters most. We try to protect those we love. We sacrifice ourselves for them. That instinct, It never dies, even in the face of the impossible.
And if it were me, Darklings, I wouldn't hesitate. I would give everything. I would bleed, burn, and break. If it meant protecting the one I love, I would die for you, Sensei. Without a single breath of doubt. Bye, Darklings. Don't forget, love is the sweetest curse.